Okay, so this is Monday and it's December 7th, 2020, and we are now in class 11 of the Buddhist Neigong class. Actually, it's a series of classes that we've been doing. And last week, I introduced some really specific teachings on guardian chi and expansive inhale. And we worked with the hara, actually the torso, from both the low, middle, and high. And so we talked about breathing into the front, back, sides for the low part of the torso, the middle part of the torso, and the high part of the torso. And then actually shifting that to the diagonals. I pointed out that that's an option. And I think that's pretty much where we were. And so, in terms of questions, comments, observations practitioners are having as they engage this material, before I hit record, Sayaka and I were starting to have a little conversation. So, Sayaka, if you would chime in again, let's see what we've got here.
Yeah, so this isn't specifically about guardian chi, but
Mm-hmm.
you've mentioned before that the posture is very important, that our weight should be evenly placed between the two legs and that we're straight. Um, but so there's been times in my studio when I'm like working and supporting something, for example, like on my one shoulder, and I'm
Mm.
standing a little crooked and I have to stand here for maybe 5 minutes. And there's been times when I thought like, oh, this is a good time for me to practice, but I'm a little crooked. So is this not a good time for me to practice then? And if there's a time when like something is hurting and I'm not able to get straight, like, is that a good time or not really?
Well, a couple of things. As every so many years click by, the body is less resilient, I guess I would say, if left untrained. Okay. And this is if you're lucky enough to age, then you get a full dose of this. And every decade, it's like you get a double dose. At least that's my experience so far. Okay. So one of the things is that you'll probably find is that as you age, most of us do, things that in the past were kind of like non-issues, like it's just you don't even notice it. No, it starts to become an issue. All right, and you start to become aware of it. So from that perspective, being in an like for me playing guitar affects my body now very differently than it did when I was 20. 30 years later, sitting like this with my kind of shoulder coming around and my one leg up to kind of get the guitar elevated correctly. And it's this kind of angled thing. It's a problem. So I find that I have to really pay attention to how I hold the instrument. I've had to like revisit everything about my structure with the instrument, and still, it's inherently an imbalanced thing. It's not like the flute is just right here. It's very, very balanced. This kind of flute is not. It's just, or a violin, God help you. That's the whole thing there, right? This, you know, so that kind of stuff. It's not like you can't do these things, but you have to learn to compensate and correct structurally for that. So if you're making a sculpture and you've got to be here for a while to make the thing go, then the best thing to do is when you're done with that, do something that's exactly the opposite of it. Put your body in the mirror other position. If you've got a lot of contraction, then practice opening. If you've got this one up, then practice with the other one up and move it back like this. And you can just kind of compensate this way. So in general, that's a skillful thing to be able to pay attention to and to notice. Okay. If
Okay.
we don't pay attention to that and we don't notice it, it can creep up on you very suddenly. And like, oh, that's when you get a thing where your back suddenly spasms and you can't move. And it's like, how did that happen? Well, we weren't paying attention to our body for a long time and it gradually ramped up and suddenly the water boiled and we are have back trouble or whatever. So that's one thing in general. Okay, if you've got a specific moment that is imbalanced, you can
Mhm.
just right then go the other way and kind of balance it out. That's good.
Yeah. So remember and yeah, be aware of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and take it
Okay.
seriously. That's the
Yeah.
other thing that actually actually take it seriously and pay attention to it. You know, your body's telling you this is not cool, then just go the other way, you know. Your body likes to be used. Your body likes to move and to engage and do stuff. You know, sedentary life is not healthy. So the answer is not to try to just become sedentary and do nothing and just stay in bed. That's bad for you also. But when you do an activity that exerts a stress on the structure, do the complementary antagonism of that activity to make a balance to it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, good. Nice. So, anybody else in working with this expansive inhalation in the torso, low, middle, and high? Shokai, please.
So at one of the retreats over the summer, you you were doing the April brocades, and you did bring in the Taoist breathing. So it's correct to do that throughout that sequence, right?
Yeah, you can. What you'll find is that there's times and places where you can do either or both. One is more suited than the other, or they both have a use. You know what I mean? So yeah, you know, I can do like that first move and do it primarily with an expansive inhale and get benefit, and you can do the same move with a contractive inhale and get a different kind of benefit. So most things, most practices, actually, you can do reasonably either way. What I hope to do today is to talk a little bit about contractive inhale and what it does and how expansive inhale contrasts to that, and maybe make it a little more clear. Yeah. There are some exceptions though. Like if you're trying to generate martial power, you don't want an expansive inhale. That's just working against you. And when you sit in zazen, you don't want to be doing a contractive inhale. It doesn't help the process. So there are a few fixed times, but in the qigong sets, there's actually a lot of flexibility. I've come to see these qigong sets as like standard tunes. There's a recognizable melody and changes there, but there's lots of ways to play it. So it's not just like a fixed thing. There's different ways to do the eight brocades, and we'll cover those. All right, thank you. Kaishin, yeah.
One of the things we talked about last week ended up being kind of the main thing that came up for me was the blind spots in terms of the breathing. I found very particularly in the upper third,
Ah,
there was a much lower sensitivity in the sides and in the back. Sides and back in general were much worse.
yeah, I think that would be pretty common. You know, most folks, you know, like as I said, then we're very frontal aware. We're very front aware creatures generally. We're not super aware of our sides and our back, usually very little. But that can increase with time. That's not a permanent feature. And when you meet people that have really filled their body with ki, with chi, they've really kind of united with themselves in this way. There's a presence that goes all the way around. It's hard to describe in words, you know, but I've been in the presence of a few people like this, and there's there's a there's a way in which they've completely filled their body. Every cell of their body is actually enlivened by mind, and it's cool, you know. I mean, but look at any cat, and they have it going on. Okay, even my pugs can do it. You know, birds, trees. I mean, all kinds of living entities do this with not a lot of effort, honestly. Human beings, however, we have this really, really heightened cognitive capacity, and the downside of that is that we can start to live in our mentation and ideation rather than just kinesthetically. And so a little bit we kind of leave the body behind and live up in our eyes and in our thoughts. And there's some great advantages to that, but there's downsides. You know, we get math, we get physics, we get science, we get language, poetry, song, all kinds of stuff. But we also get disconnected from our body in a way that a cat never will. It's not an option for them. It's not going to happen. So we have to actually train and practice filling our body with our minds. And then once you do, you find it's quite natural, and you don't have to do a hell of a lot of training for it anymore, because your body remembers oh yeah, this is how it is to be in a body, to be a body. Yeah. It's kind of an interesting thing too. There are parallels to that in the Dharma, where our cognitive abilities have evolved so much that we separate from oneness, and we see only duality, and we get stuck there. And it actually takes training for us to drop that conditioning and see the oneness again. Right? And it's a good trade, because we have language and culture and all kinds of beautiful things, but it's that same kind of, wherever there's a front, there's a back. So anyway, yeah, very good. All right. So on, please, yeah.
I'm finding in sitting that the expansive breathing is starting to be front and back. Is that okay to continue that in Zazen, or?
Oh yeah, that's ideal. I would really love to have your whole body breathing in Zazen. So what you don't, of necessity, when we do beginning instruction, what Shokai does so handsomely for the temple these days, I mean, you can't go into all this depth. And even if you did, it would just like bum people out and turn them off. It's too much, right? So what we say is put your mind down here in the belly, and have the belly expand when you breathe, like a balloon in there. And that's really good, But actually, you want the whole body to be breathing. It's an expansive inhale. It starts at the one point below the belly button and expands from there, but you really want to feel the whole body open. So all the way through, the front, the back, the sides, including the head, arms, and legs, which I'll cover today somewhat. So yeah, the more that you can fill your body with breath, the better off you are. And it's gentle. It's not like a push-up. It's not like going for one more rep, man. No, it's very relaxed, but it's very, very powerful. It's rather like the tide. The moon goes over, and the waters of the earth just kind of lean this way, and the whole planet gets moved by that. It's not this sudden jarring thing. It's a gradual but very deep and very, very heavy kind of movement, but it's very gentle. So the breath should fill the body like that. Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, Fuzan, please.
Yeah, okay. So I've been feeling like my breath reaching in different areas on my chest, like as I'm breathing more, and it feels really good.
Yeah.
But my like kind of Zen training is like telling me to it speaks, and it's like, you should be breathing from down lower, but I've been feeling like breathing from my stomach and my chest, and it just feels really good. But I guess I've just been thinking, like, should I not be doing this? Because I'm kind of breathing, but it more so kind of feels like reaching with my breath. And it just feels like, it just feels good. So I don't know. I'm just like,
oh, it is good. I mean, so yeah, it's good stuff. Breathing is good. Way beats the alternative. But the thing is that when you're sitting, you want to start the breath at the one point and the lower part of the dantian, and then the whole thing opens up. Okay, so like, it's not just the lower part of the hara that expands and contracts, and this just sits here doing nothing. You want subtly, but you want all of the whole system. So it starts low. The back, the front, the sides, the middle, the top, the whole body fills with breath, and then comes back down. And it all relates to here as the sort of beginning point, but it expands through the whole thing. Now, when you're doing an exercise, meaning like, let's say you're laying down in bed trying to go to sleep, and you're just kind of laying there on your back, and you can just breathe up into the chest and bring the chi up into those areas that maybe have been shielded or closed down or not paid attention to, or the heart chakra is there and, oh, I'm not sure I want to feel things, whatever. If you bring attention there as an exercise at a certain time to feel that, that's completely fantastic. You know, that's like, that's just kind of working on that component, this component, that component. But when you sit zazen, don't confuse the two. Okay. When I'm sitting zazen, I'm not doing qigong research with my body, putting qi in different areas of the body when I'm doing zazen. No, when you do zazen, just practice zazen. But those exercises are very vital and real, and I do them daily also. But it's tricky to even get your head around like that they're a different thing, right? Like, isn't it all just the same thing? And like, actually, no, but it takes a while for it to kind of settle in, right? That actually, when you do the internal work of Neigong, that's a specific thing you're doing, just as much as, I don't know, flexibility training is different from strength training. You know, it's different from endurance. Is different from watching your calories. I mean, they're all work together, but they're actually different areas of study. This is a little more subtle. It's not as obvious, and so it's harder for us to be able to kind of tune in to the differences initially, but eventually it's really blatant. You know, when you sit, sit. When you do qigong, do qigong. All right, does that make sense?
Can I ask another quick question? I'm just curious how you feel your breathing during the day. Like, I don't know, just when you're like walking around, how you feel your breathing. Because in zazen, it's like full body.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're carrying that throughout the whole day, or just, I'm just curious your perspective, because have done the deep stuff.
I would say that when I practice, it's very specific and meaningful and intentional. And then when I'm just kind of in daily life, I'm just in daily life. You know, I don't think about it. I'm just kind of doing what needs to be done.
Right.
You know, I liken it very much to when I'm studying some kind of improvisational concept, I'm really studying it like as an etude. But when it comes time to play, I'm just going to play. But the playing is informed by the study. Right? So you train your body to move in a martial way, according to some tradition. When you're doing that tradition's patterns, you're putting patterns in the body, right? And then when it actually comes time to do this stuff, you better not be thinking about it. Too late. You just move, but your movement is informed by the training that you've done. So it's precisely like that. You know, when I sit in zazen, and drop off body and mind and just, you know, manifest Buddhahood and all this, whatever. I just do that. And then when I'm going to go, you know, for a walk with Doan, we just go for a walk and talk about whatever comes up for us. But it's meeting. Does that make sense?
You. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. It's a really good question. Sometimes we get an image that we're supposed to be in some hyper realized state 24/7 or something, and we can make ourselves a little crazy. Okay, so let's push on, if we could, then into some newer distinctions with this material. I said last time that it was particularly relevant for the COVID-19 and lung resiliency and like this. And that's clearly the case. You can see if you've engaged this material at any depth, if you start actively bringing movement into the different areas of the lungs, front, back, sides, diagonals, it's kind of like exercising. You're stretching muscles that you didn't know you had, maybe, okay? But they're internal. It's internal stuff now, right? So all of this is to the benefit, if God forbid you catch this COVID-19 or any other lung attacking crap, right? But it is not limited to only the torso that we apply this, okay? So we can do exactly the same practice, cutting the torso low, middle, high, and inhaling. Remember now, when we inhale, we're using the 5 gates to draw the breath in. and that means through the Bahui point, the top of the head, and the Mingmen point in the palm, drawing in through the arms. So drawing in through the central channel of the body, drawing in through the arms, and drawing in through the feet and the legs. The center point of the foot is about right here on the foot, okay? And so you're drawing chi, earth chi, from the legs up to the one point, and you're drawing chi from your environment through the hands, then it comes in and goes to the one point, and you're drawing in heaven chi from the Bahui point, and it comes down and goes to the one point. So that's called 5 gates breathing. Top, 2 arms, 2 legs, and everything draws in, okay? And then with that inhale, we expand. So the front, back sides, or the middle, front, back sides, or the top, front, back sides. So for example, if I'm I'll stand up and do this, let's say. And so if I'm gonna work on my, say, the middle band for a minute, so what I'm doing is I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna breathe in arms, top of the head, and legs. I'm going to draw in, and all of that comes in to the one point, and then I bring it up to the middle and expand it. And then exhale, like so. Okay? Now that should be familiar from last week. Now, the new distinction is that you can do this exact same process, but not be limited just to the torso, okay? And in fact, you want to apply this process to your arm and to your legs and to your head, okay? Now here's the way this works, okay? You take the arm and you consider it as the shoulder to the elbow. That's one area. The joint itself is another area. And then from the joint to the wrist, that's a third area. So 1, 2, 3, okay? And you leave the hand itself as a separate issue. So what I'm going to do is draw in from the head, the hands, and the feet. It comes to the one point, and then I'm going to send it to the first part of my arm, and that arm is going to then take the chi and expand. So now this is trickier because you don't have any literal expansion in the same amount that you do here in your tummy, okay? When you breathe in here, your tummy goes out. There's a lot of stuff here that moves that way, and you can feel it. This is more just chi. Obviously, there's no breath hitting here literally, okay? But I am drawing the breath to that point and having the chi come there and expand. So, for example, if I sit here, let's just do I'll stand up again. So stand up with me if you would. And then let's say we're going to work on the expansion from the shoulder to the elbow of both arms, okay? And I can just put my hands basically right here. You can take them down and just kind of put your palms to the floor. This is the Bodhidharma's first standing posture. But again, what I'm going to do is 5 gates breathing to the hara, to the one point, and then bring the chi to the biceps, or not really the bicep, but the top part of the arm, and have the whole arm expand on the inhale. So breathing in goes like this. Expansive breathing in the trunk, bring it up to the arm and feel the top part of the arm itself expanding. And then now when you release, this is a little different. When you release, you want to imagine that chi out here, when you expand the bicep, it expands out past your skin. It goes about that far past your skin, basically about from your middle finger to your palm. It goes about that far away, in my case about here. And you want to imagine that chi coming out and staying there. Okay, so I'm going to breathe in like this. I breathe the chi to the top part of the arms, and I feel the chi then expand out on the top part of the arms, and it stays there when I exhale. And then I grab some more from the next inhale. bring it to basically the marrow of the bones, and then expand from there on the inhale, and then keep it there. And then the third breath, you do the same. Draw in through the 5 gates to the 1 point in the hara, expands through the torso, and then feed it into the marrow of your upper arms, and let the chi expand from the upper arms out all the way around, and let it stay. So what we're doing is making guardian chi from the arm, from the upper part of the arm, out here, here, and in the back. So front, sides, back, the whole thing basically just goes out. Okay? And then it comes out, it stays there. And then you go get some more, it comes out and it stays there even more. You leave it, you get some more, bring it up, and it stays there. And you're basically buffing up that guardian chi, your immune system, right from here to here. And when you do so, you have to really concentrate your feeling into the arm and just feel it expand. And I think the best way to do this is to feel inside the marrow of the bones. You know, the bone is in there. You want to put your mind inside the center hollowness of the bone, bring the chi into that point, and then have it radiate out. Okay, let's try it a few more times. I'm going to breathe in. I'm making expansive inhales through the torso, bringing it all the way up to the arms, into the marrow of the arms, and then expanding out and letting it hold there, and then release. Again, drawing in. Bring it up to the top of the arms, hold it there, expand it, and release.
Oh, sorry.
And then again, breathe in. Hold it there, and then release. Okay. Now you can do the same thing with the joint itself. Okay. So I could keep the same posture, and now I'm gonna breathe here. So my lower torso expands on the inhale, the middle torso expands, the upper torso expands, and both top parts of the arms expand, and it happens that quick, just like there. They all went boom, 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 and then continue it down into the joint. And you want to bring the chi right to where the bones meet. You want to put it right in the space between the bones and have it expand from there. Okay. So you want to imaginatively, if you can't actually, but feel into the space between the bones, concentrate there, and then have it radiate out. Let's try that. So breathing in, drawing in from all 5 gates, bring it to the 1 point, and then have it cascade up. Expansive exhale, inhale rather. Top of the arms, bring it to the elbow joints. And then expand the elbow joints. Hold it. Release your breath. Keep the chi expanded by the elbows and draw some more in. Remember, your feet draw in from the earth. Your arms, your hands draw in from your environment. Your head draws in from the heavens. You bring it all together to the 1 point. Expands up the torso, up the arms. Bring it to the joint of the elbow, expanding through there. And leave it be there. Relax. Third breath of 3, drawing in. And release. And then the last area is from the elbow to the wrist, okay? This bones. So again, what you can see we're doing is you're drawing the breath in, open, 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 and then shoulders, elbow, now forearm. And you hold it in the marrow and then have it expand on the inhale. And then you leave it there, well, you go and gather more. Now, don't be confused by this, because when you draw chi in, you're drawing it through your arm, through your hand. It comes in, travels through the marrow of your bones, and goes down to the one point. And it gathers there with the chi that's coming from the other arm, from the legs, and from the head. And it goes straight in, and then it expands out, expands out, and comes down here and expands. Okay, let's try the forearms. You can put your hands up, you can put your hands out, you can put them any way that you like to, really, just to feel it. You know, in some ways, it's easier to do the arms with your hands out to the side. If that's not challenging for you for other reasons, you can try that way. So breathing in, expanding all the way through the torso, shoulders, upper arm, elbows, and then finally it gets to the lower arms. Visualize it coming out the forearms all the way around. Hold it there, and then release the inhale. Your chi is still expanded around the forearms. Inhale, draw more chi from the heavens, environment, and earth. Bring it to the one point. It alchemically mixes there, and then expand the low torso, middle torso, high torso, shoulders, upper arms, elbows, lower arms, and then radiates out. And release. Remember, when you release, you keep the chi expanded around your forearms. Last time, drawn from the floor, environment, and heavens. Gathers at the one point, opens up the torso, low, middle, high, shoulders, upper arms, elbows, forearms, holds at the forearm, and relax. Okay. All right. Now what we're doing here, okay, is we're enhancing the guardian chi, your key immune system, okay? All of this work is to enhance your immune system, your body's ability to keep out unwholesome energies, unwholesome anything really, vibes, say what you want. So torso low, torso middle, torso top, right? Then shoulders, upper arms, elbow, forearms, okay? So you kind of want to be like, it's almost like an airbag in a car. Trouble hits and it goes, right? Or like a puffer fish, right? You want to feel your arm expanded chi all the way around it. So your chi body should be about that long or that far away from your actual skin, about here. And if you get sensitive to it, you know, people can self-deceive and wishfully think these things, but you actually can, if you're sensitive, you can actually feel where your hand runs into your energy body. And if you're skilled at it and you have the inclination for it, and you have to be able to play with this stuff, honestly, but you can kind of get a sense of where it is in other people also. You know, you can, but there's just nothing, you know, if this gets injured and there's a big gap there, or it feels strong and buoyant, like right now, right about here, feels to me like that's radiating out. And before I did this practice, it was down to about here. So my self-sense, my subjective experience is that the chi radiating off of my forearms right now is about out to about here all the way around. Okay, does that make sense to you? Now you have to start with the lower torso and get that get that cooking. Then include the middle and do the low and the middle. Boom. This is your internal organs, your intestines, up further up here, the liver, all these areas, expand and protect, right? Kidneys, expand and protect. Then up here, the heart, all of this stuff, arms, okay? Does this make sense to everybody? I think, you know, if someone was really hip with graphics like Barry is, they could do a cool thing. All I can do is keep going, it's like this, but it's the best I got. Any questions on this much so far? Let's see. I see Mark. Yeah, please.
It seems to me that in working in the torso, I can actually feel physical movements
Yep.
pretty much in every area.
Mm-hmm.
When I was trying to bring it down into the shoulder area, or well, any area in the arm, it seemed like I had to put a lot more imagination into it. I didn't
That's
feel anything physical happening.
that's normative in the beginning, but that is not permanently the case.
Okay.
Again, this is one of the things, like, if you didn't really know that you could like wiggle your nostrils, you'd be like, you can't do that. Like, oh yeah, you can. No, you can't move your nostrils. Yes, you can. How many people here can make your nostrils flare? Put your hand up if you can do that. Shokai, you can't. That's your homework, Shokai. Okay, you can. All right. So like, there's a moment where you've never noticed this capacity to flare one's nostril, and you see, it's like, that's bullshit. You can't do that. And then it's like, oh, you can see someone flare their little nostril, and then you kind of work on it. You practice it. You get a teacher. You work on these things, and then you can flare your nostril, right? And it's like that, except you can't see it as much. Right. And if you put your hand on my nostril, you could feel it. Right. It's a micro movement. It's harder to see it in this little camera, but you can feel it. There are micro movements that actually occur physiologically in the body. It's not just chi. Okay. The fluids of the body respond to this. So the synovial fluid that's in the joint, all of the body's stuff responds to the mind, just like water responds to the moon. The moon moves, the water goes. When I put my mind in here, into the marrow of that bone, okay, it's in there, and then I have it cooked there. So you're bringing in chi from the heavens, the environment, and the earth, and you cauldron it, you alchemically put it together, and you bring it up, and you put it into the marrow of the bone and hold it, and then allow it to open up. If you were to touch my forearm when I do it, you would feel stuff happening. You can feel it, right? Aikido, turns out, is kind of has this as a speciality, grab my wrist, right? And then boom, stuff happens that is very real. I mean, I've grabbed my teacher's wrist and Satomi Shihan and other highly evolved practitioners, and without seeming to move anything, they expand the chi in their body, and I go up and back. It can actually like move me. Now that's a martial application that we're not necessarily, specializing on here, but this is a very physically real thing, but it starts mentally. You have to be able to mentally vision it, imagine it, hold your mind there, and then gradually the body starts to like know how to respond to that. But even at its fullest, it's micro movements. It's minutia. It'll never be as obvious here as it is here by default. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good.
Thank
Okay,
you. Yes.
Yoshiki, I saw you had a show going. Yeah.
I seem to run out of inhale by the time I get it all to my hara. So it was a lot easier for me to expand on the exhale. Is that a no-no? It's hard to go down here and all the way out there on the inhale.
Yeah, I would.
Wants to get bigger
Yeah.
with an exhale.
I understand. You don't want to mess with that. I mean, you can do whatever, it's fine. But really what you want to do is, like, when I run out of lung capacity to bring in oxygen, that's just like one finger out of these 5. Okay. So my physical lungs stop when I inhale. That's comfortably full, and I just want to comfortably fill. I'm not like being extreme or aggressive about it, but what's happening is the chi is still coming in, even though the breath has stopped, because I've set it's like pulling a suction cup. Okay, my breath is done, but my intention is still drawing in, and so chi is still coming in, even though the breath is physically not inhaling.
Okay.
You run out, you hyperventilate, you fall over, and you look silly.
Right.
So there's not that. Okay, so it's a comfortable inhale, See, I'm still drawing chi in and I'm talking, but my feeling is still inhaling. Does that make sense?
So when you're exhaling, what's happening?
Just release.
You're inhaling it to pass outside your body, and exhaling, nothing's happening in the energy field.
Well, correct. When you're building guardian chi, which is what we're doing now, okay, you want to bring the chi, heavens, environment, and earth, bring it to the one point, and from there everything expands. Boom, 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 boom. You bring it to your area of focus and expand it out, and you mentally hold it there. And what you don't want to do is then exhale and like have it collapse. You want to do that. What you find you can do is you can grab chi, channel it through, bring it up, and buff it out here and leave it there while you exhale. Chi's still here. Grab some more and fortify it even more and leave that there. We go back and do another. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess it just happens faster than I thought. I was kind of doing the breath down to here, and then I was like, out of breath. So
Yeah.
I'll work on that. Thank you.
Yep. It's very much like a gear where the gear goes, like click, 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 and it won't go back, So you can click, 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 and then rewind, click, 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 and rewind, and click, 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 but the gear doesn't go back. It's something like this. I breathe in, the chi comes up here and expands, and it stays there. And then I release and draw in more chi. Click, and it stays there. It's something like that. And what you're doing here is you're doing a physical exercise to develop your immune system. You're developing your chi's ability to guard you by putting your intention and your mind in it. See, and the chi will follow. And what ends up happening, you do this depending on all of our abilities to actually concentrate. I mean, if your jiriki sucks, if I can't actually put my mind where I want it to be for as long as I want it to be there, I'm going to have very limited ability to be able to affect this effect in the body. But if I can put my mind there and hold it there and visualize this out and move it that way, the chi will definitely respond. And the more you do it, the more common it'll be. Your body will just be like, oh yeah, that stuff, got it. In the same way that if someone starts doing aerobic training, like the arteries and the heart are already there, they just start working more effectively. So your body already generates guardian chi. It's just a matter of how do we get it to be stronger.
I think I'm going to try it next time I go to Costco, where there's like 500 people in there, and it might be a good thing to do before you walk into a store.
I would actually very specifically tell you not to draw in a bunch of chi when you're in a big box store with a lot of people.
No. Before I go in, kind of get myself all ready, and then like in the car or something.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Sure.
Not in the store. No.
Good. All right. Anybody else here? Okay, so let's talk about the next chunk, okay, which is the legs. Okay, the legs. Now the legs, it's exactly the same as the arms. You've got the, here you have the shoulder. Well, here you've got the hip, okay? And so you want to be able to put you draw the chi in through all 5 gates, goes to the torso, the one point opens up, do the arms, and then once you've got that, bring it to the hip joints. And you want to think about, again, where the bones meet, right in there, and expand and open it up, okay? And it goes right through the bones, and this helps resiliency for the bones, okay? And like this. And so you do the same process. It looks no different. Whatever posture you want, this is perfectly acceptable. And you can't see it, but if I come here and draw all the 5 gates in, now I've got my torso and my arms are all expanded, and I'm going to bring the chi to my hip bones. and have it expand through those. And again, it comes here and it comes out of the body about the width of your longest finger to the base of your palm. About however long that is, that's how far out your body you want to imagine it going at this level, right? And then you would do the same thing for the femur, right, that whole area, and the knee, and the lower leg. The pelvic floor, you want to keep slightly lifted. That's one area where you don't want to practice expanding. Actually, you want to hold that up lightly. You don't clench, but there's a little bit of an intent upwards on the pelvic floor as a ceiling. Actually, as a floor, I should say. And then you've done the torso, the arms, and the legs. Does that make sense? You can work on this at your own time. I'm not going to take time here to lead you through it. You get the idea, okay? Last part, which is very important, is the head. Okay, now the head is a little different, not much, but a little bit different. After you've done the torso, arms, legs, okay, then what you do is you work on the neck. And you think about the center point of the neck, and it comes here and it radiates out on the inhale when you're doing Guardian Chi, okay? You draw in, same posture, bring it to the throat notch up here in the neck, and it just radiates out. Then you consider as a second area, everything from basically your brow to the bottom of your chin. And in this space, you've got all your sense organs besides the skin that's up here, okay? Eyes, ears, nose, tongue. All of that stuff, kind of all the way around and through, you take that like as a area, okay? And again, this is best done with your eyes closed, really, but you breathe in, you do the neck as its own thing, okay? All the way up to the occiput, to the lower occipitals here, from here basically to here, that's the neck, okay? Then you do the skull from the brows, and what you do is you bring the area in the neck, and then you bring it here, and then just expand it out. There comes your face out, your sides out, your back out, okay? There's a little overlap here with the neck, and that's fine. That's totally fine. And then the last area is from the brow up, okay? The sort of skull cap, right? And so what you do there is you breathe up, you've done your neck, you've done the face, and then you bring it up into here. It's hard to show, but there's two hemispheres, okay? And you want to put it right in the center, like here. Like if I could intersect these points with these points, two lines, there's a place right in the center. You want to bring the chi to that point and then have it expand out like this. And again, you want to visualize it coming about the middle finger to the base of your hand out all the way around your head, something like so. So if you look at a typical iconography, like a Greek Orthodox or a Russian Orthodox icon or something, the halo, that's about what you're looking to do all the way around. It's not just like a plate behind you, though. It's like a dome and extends all the way around you. Neck, face, sides, back, and then crown. Okay, so let's try that real quick. That's kind of a fun one to try. You can do this sitting or standing or what have you. It's all good. But we'll just say you've done your legs, even though you haven't. We'll just say you did. Let's just try the head because it's a little bit less obvious. So you draw the breath in. Like I'm going to do it just here like this with my hands up. My feet are just comfortable. I'm going to draw the breath in. 5 gates breathing to the 1 point, expanding up the torso, arms, legs, and then the neck. And it goes just that quick. Room, boom, boom, neck. And expand all directions of the neck. Your breath has ceased, but you're still drawing chi in the 5 gates and channeling it up to the neck and expanding it. And then release. Second go around, go ahead, breathing in. Now notice how when you draw in through the Ba Hui point, the heaven chi, it comes right through the center of your central channel, and it doesn't affect the fact that your chi is expanding around your neck. It's totally fine. Expands around the neck, and release the breath. And then last breath this way, drawing in. And then release. Now, keeping the neck chi expanded, let's work on the face. So breathing in again, goes through the torso, arms, legs, neck, and bring it to the center of the head, and then expand out through the sides and the face, front. And then release. Remember, you keep the shield around you as you do this. Again, breathing in. And release. And then the last time, drawing in. Bring it up to the neck, up to the center of the head, and then expand through the sides of the head and the face. And leave it there as you exhale. And last one, the skull cap. Drawing in. Lower hara, middle hara, upper hara, arms, legs, neck, face, and then to the center of the skull cap and expand. Release. Drawing in again. Expanding out past the body, hold it there and release. And breath 3, drawing in. And release. Good. Okay, now with that, you've covered everywhere except your hands and your feet. All right. And the reason we didn't do those until the very last moment is because we're using them to draw energy in. So you don't want to expand out and seal it, right? So after you've done torso, shoulder, arms, pelvis, legs, neck, mid-head, crown, then the last one you do is all the fingers and the toes, everything about the hand, and just expand it. The end result, again, is simply that you're expanding the guardian chi all the way around your body, okay? Kaishin, yeah?
In doing that last bit, I don't want to say, I didn't get dizzy, but there was this sense of doing it up here. There was like a taste of feeling heady in a way that wasn't there, that isn't there with the other bits. Is that just the function of where this is happening, or are there like precautions or warnings about working up around the eyes and the brain?
As long as you're doing the practice that I'm laying down, there's no danger. Okay, what you don't want to do is bring chi into a specific part of the brain or an organ and just hold it there. That's very dangerous. You don't want to make any kind of stagnation. It's always circulation. So in this case, we're drawing in through the central channel, making the alchemical blending, bringing it up, and then expanding out here. You're not going to hurt yourself doing that. It's all just good for you. You're bringing your energy out, protecting, protecting, protecting. Now, because it's here, so much of our mental processing and our so much of our capacity is here, right? So it's going to be very sensitive on a much more like nerve kind of way than your femur probably is. That's power, but that's not a lot of sensitivity like your eyes, right? So temporarily, you may find some sensations that are unique. Ultimately, though, it's not like taking a shot of whiskey where you take a hit and you feel it, and every time you take a shot of whiskey, you feel that thing. It's not like that. As your body acclimates to this, it just becomes very comfortable, very easy, and it doesn't include kind of dizziness as a feature. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's a similar process in Zazen where if someone has not ever been in a particularly deep samadhi, okay, and then they start to kind of get in the house a little bit of a deep samadhi state, then they experience makyo. So the floor can start to wave, they can start to see colors, they can feel like they're floating, all kinds of stuff like that. And as you know, the guidance is to just see it, acknowledge it, let it go, and come back to your practice. We don't want to steer into these kind of weird feeling experiences as though they're meaningful. It's just a matter of the brain actually focusing in a way that's new to it. Now, as you become adept in concentrated mind states, those phenomenon cease. They're a function of the newness of it. Okay. Does that make sense?
It does, yes.
Okay.
I also had a question about the shell nature of the guardian chi, and this is more of a visualization element. I don't quite know how to phrase it. When it's been expanded, is it more like the shell of an egg that is out from the center, or is that guardian chi more like you are wedged inside a larger chi gummy bear version of yourself? Like it's chi all the way out, or it's chi in a barrier?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. It radiates out from you. So it's a field which is being generated.
Field, yes.
It's a field, yeah. It's energy. Okay, so it's like the Earth's magnetic field. It comes out, all right, and it's dynamic and it's alive. It's not a shell like you think of an eggshell, like there's a hard edge. There's not like a hard, crisp laser edge to this. It's a field. Okay, you can feel it when you get there, like the Earth's magnetic or gravitational. There's a thing, like the sun. It exerts a massive gravitational field that you can measure when you get into the contact with it. So there's some kind of a radius to it, but it's a little bit porous. Now, as people practice this and they get more and more adept with it, that field becomes very, very strong. Okay, it becomes intensely strong, and you can sense it in other folks more readily when you've sensed it in yourself. Like most things, if you've had a particular trauma, you can kind of tell when someone else maybe has had something kind of similar going on because you have that thing in common, even though you never talk about it, right? In a certain kind of a similar way, when you get your chi field to be really strong and it's awake and alive like that, you can tell when other people's are or aren't. Or at least, let's say, you have a subjective feeling that you can. That's for sure. You definitely feel like you can. All right. Okay, Mark, did you have a hand go up, I think?
I did. Just a couple quick questions.
Yeah.
One is, would you recommend we do the exercises in the order that we did tonight?
Yeah.
And sort of along with that is, could the exercise be done directing toward, say, just an elbow pain?
Oh, yeah,
And just say,
absolutely.
I'm just going to do that.
Yes. So the answer is yes to both of those.
Questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes to both, with a caveat to the second, right? So the first one is you should work on the torso first. That's the big guns, okay? And you do the low, middle, high, just like we did. Then you do the shoulders, top arm, joint, low arm. Then you do the pelvis and the top leg, knee, bottom leg. Then you do the neck, face area, and crown. Then you do the hands and feet. Okay, and it's in that order every time. That's the best way. And when I breathe in, It can like course through the body like water that's running down a really well trodden path. You know, it just goes right down the trough. Shoo. Whew. Okay, so you can just breathe in, and it courses through the body in exactly that pattern when you've practiced it. Okay, and you can just work on a specific area. Okay, like there is very specific benefit to having your kidneys guarded, okay, especially in the winter time. Okay, this is your, you know, this is a very important area in Chinese medical thought, therefore in Buddhist medical thought. You know, like you want to make sure that that qi is protected. So I might decide to put a lot of more energy in that for a while if I feel like it's deficient. So you can totally focus in on an area. Next week, however, we're going to look at contractive inhale and what that does in the body. You do the same process with a contractive inhale, and it's a completely different effect on the body, and we'll talk about that at length then. So you might find after next week's class that if your elbow is having pain, you might prefer to draw qi into it rather than to expand from it. Okay?
Good.
Last lingering thought I have on that, you know, pain in the body is best resolved by circulation. So it's better to circulate qi through an area. That's always cool. So if my elbow hurts, I can draw the qi through and send it back, and draw it through and send it back. And I want to feel like there's some pain there. Every time I just wipe a little bit of that pain out and circulate it. Like you erode it. You don't attack it. You erode the pain. You kind of gently coax it through and sink it. We talked about this a little bit in the earlier part of this class with grounding. You kind of sink it through and draw it low. Okay. So anybody listening to this that hasn't covered that, I'd recommend go back to the earlier class. I think it might have been class 1 or 2 or 3, somewhere earlier on where we talked about grounding. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Okay. Put your hand up if you're still interested in the subject. Good. That's affirming. Excellent. I am. I mean, I think it's relevant. So, all right. I'm going to hit record. I'm going to turn it off. So that's it for the formal part of this class. We'll see you next week.